Hello everyone. I would like to wish everyone a very warm welcome to this SMI Academy, focusing on linking and drilling inside reports. The first thing I'll do is show you a number of slides a limited number of slides to discuss what we will be talking about this afternoon. After that, obviously, I will be showing this inside SMI, and I will be explaining the functionality around this. I think it's good to know that on the 28th of May there will be another webinar around this functionality, but that will focus more on really creating a report that combines all of these functions and is a complex interactive report. This specific webinar will focus more on the individual functionalities and not so much combining them, although that will be mentioned. After I've done my demonstration of the functionality, I will open the lines up for any questions or remarks that you may have. Okay, so first some slides. This academy focuses really on three specific functionalities supplied in SAP Business Objects, using obviously SMI. One is hyperlinking, the other one is the use of so-called input controls, and the last one is the use of so-called element linking. Now I think it's good to know that as far as SAP Business Objects versions are concerned, the first two are available in all current versions of SAP Business Objects running inside our customers' environments. The last one, element linking, has become available since Business Intelligence version 4. So that's really the current version, but I know there are still some customers running on older versions, XI 3.1. That does not contain the element linking functionality, but it does contain hyperlinking and input controls. So let's focus first on what each of these individual functionalities can do for you. Hyperlinking has been around for quite a while, but it's actually very powerful and very useful functionality, although it's a bit hidden, and if you don't know your way around it, it can be quite cumbersome. I will try and explain how easy you can make it to make use of it. What does hyperlinking do? Basically, you create a link, a URL inside a report, in a column, in a table, for example, that when you click it, invokes another report, really a separate report, that opens up and that is refreshed with data from the report that you came from the source report. So I'll give you an example. If we have a table in a report showing the number of breached incidents by resolver group, something like that, and we want to drill down into which individual incidents these are, I could have a second report prepared that shows the details of these incidents that actually breached the SLA, and that has one or a number of prompts, one of the prompts being the resolver group. So I can send the selected resolver group from report 1 to the prompt of report 2, refreshing that report specifically for that selected group. So pass report information to prompts in target report. That's important inside the hyperlinking functionality. And the third point there, it's an excellent method for drilling down from aggregate information to detailed information. So really, one report would focus on aggregate information, percentages, maybe a chart showing the performance for a particular period, but then eventually you may want to drill down to the level of individual groups or individual records even, and that's where hyperlinking comes in. There's a wizard available to create that link, because really it's a URL with a whole bunch of parameters that you can set. The wizard is hidden. I will show you in a minute where you can find that, how you can invoke that, and how it works. Secondly, I want to talk about input controls. And input control really is functionality where you can limit the data that you are showing inside a report or inside a table in a report with a, let's say, an interactive filter. That's what it is. It's something that the end user that looks at the report can select click on, and the report, some of the blocks inside the report or the whole report will be filtered for the selected value. So you can have a combination of these input controls available, and it's very useful to limit a large set of data to a more limited set of specific information. One thing to know about input controls is that they are not actually inside the report. They have to be used from within the input controls pane inside Launchpad, inside the report. So I will show you that in a minute as well. And you can apply such an input control to an individual block in the report, so one table or one chart, or to a combination of blocks or even the whole report. You can have multiple input controls, but one thing to remember as far as input controls are concerned is that they don't filter each other, meaning if I had two filters in a report, one for, let's say, services and the other one for resolver groups, and I selected a specific service in the top one, then the list of resolver groups available in the second input control would still be the whole list that comes from the query, from the data cube. So you might then, if you do a sub-select on a specific resolver group, end up with no data in the report because the combination of that service and that resolver group simply does not exist. And that's actually where the third option comes in, which is so-called element linking. It is very similar to input controls, but there's two main differences. You control an element link from inside the report. So basically by clicking on a column in a table or by clicking on a part of a chart, you can filter the rest of the report or another block inside of that report. So an element link can be applied to either a single block or multiple blocks or the whole report. You can also have multiple element links inside of the report. The good thing is if you apply an element link to another element link, then the values that you can use in a sub-select are limited to the values that are really applicable, that really exist. Thirdly, or fourthly, I should say, you could also have a combination of all of these, of input controls, of element links, and at the end of the day also a hyperlink. So this would help you to really go from the very highest level of aggregate information to drill down to something that you may be interested in, and finally invoke a hyperlink that opens a report and it really shows the individual records that that make up for something that you are interested in. So that is also something that we will be looking at very much in the next SMI Academy. This Academy will focus more on the, as I said, on the individual functionalities without so much combining them, although I will be doing a little bit of that. The difference between input controls and element links, really, I already talked about. Input controls are applied via a separate pane, are not immediately visible to the end user, where element links can really be applied in the report themselves by clicking on report blocks. So it's more intuitive and it's more functional. Element links can filter other element links, while input controls cannot filter other input controls. There are situations where input controls might be more useful, but I would go, on the whole, I would go with element linking as a preferred method. It's more user-friendly. It's easier for the end user to find, and so on. So, without further ado, let's actually go into SMI and look at these examples. I will start with input controls, followed by element links, and finally the last one is hyperlinks. I have prepared two reports in which I have not included these functionalities yet, but they are set up so that I can fairly easily apply them. And I've also created a second report with detailed information and with a prompt for me to use with hyperlinking. So this report here, SMI Academy Drilling and Filtering, is what we will be looking at first. So I will go into modify mode and first explain what this report shows on a very high level. So it is a report that shows for the last month, the previous month, the non-breach percentage by service in this block here on the left-hand side, and by resolver group in this block here on the right-hand side. So basically it's a list of all services combined with the area, the incident area, the number of incidents that were logged against these services in the previous month, the number of these incidents that were not breached, so that had an SLA breach of 0, not breached, and then a percentage which I calculated in the report which shows the non-breach percentage. So really this is a whole bunch of information for all of these services and combined with all of these areas. And on the right hand side I have similar information, but then only grouped by a resolver group. So for the same set of data, so many incidents were closed by a resolver group. These were non-breached, and this was the percentage non-breached by assignment group. And this is actually sorted with the, let's say, the worst performing resolver group at the top and the best performing resolver group at the bottom there. So yeah, this is a large set of data, and really what I want to do is use this as the basis for some filterings, for some drilling functionality. So I have invoked a pane called input controls here. From within this Web Intelligence report pane, there's a number of options available here, a number of panes on the left-hand side, and normally you would be looking at this available objects pane where the actual objects that make up the query are presented. But one of the other panes is input controls. So I can create a new input control here, and the first input control I will create is an input control here on service. So I'm selecting service. I can then determine whether I want a single value input control or a multiple values input control. In this case I'm going to go with a single value input control. And then there's a number of ways in which I can present that to the report user. It can be an entry field where you would have to type it in, which obviously is not what we want here. It can be a combo box, which is a drop-down list containing all of the individual services available here in this data set. Similarly, I could use radio buttons where I can set the number of lines that it will show there before a scroll bar appears. And I can also do a list box with similar functionality. And then for each of those, you can set them up to the list of values to contain all of the values from the report, or only a limited list that the end user might be able to select from. You could set a default value if you wanted to. If you don't, it's set actually to all values. And there's some other options here as well. So in this case, I'm going to set this to all values from the report. I'm going to do a combo box, and that's it. Now on the next page, I can actually determine what I want to apply this filter to. So do I want to apply this only to this block here, which is vertical table block 1, or to block 2, or in this case, the whole body of the report, the whole page body. So I can do either of these or all of them. That depends on the situation. You may have a report where you have one table that you want to use to filter a chart next to it, but not another table and chart below it. Then in that case, you would apply this input control to a part of the report rather than the whole page body here. But in this case, I'll apply it to the whole page body. Click on Finish. And now over here, as you can see, I have a drop-down list available with all of the services that I can select from. And by selecting that, the report is then filtered for, in this case, SAP, for all of the areas, because I haven't filtered on a specific area, and for all of the resolver groups that had something to do with SAP service-related incidents. And all of the values are also limited in the percentages specific now to the service SAP. So I can continue from here by creating an input control on area, for example. So in this case I'll use a list box for area, showing maybe 10 values because I know there are about 8, I think, but let's set it to 10 and let's apply that to the whole page body as well. So now I have, oh, there's a little bit more, I have my areas here. So let's reset this one. Let's show all of the information, and I can now limit this report, for example, specifically to hardware-related incidents, and then limit this to, let's say, database services. And now I only see database service related hardware incidents and the resolver groups around that, and you can see that the values actually add up. So this is also a way. But what I said earlier, by limiting my area here to hardware, the list of services is still the whole list of services. There might very well be services here that actually don't have a hardware-related incident. And if I selected any of those, you can see that the report itself becomes empty. So that's a, let's say, a disadvantage, or something at least you would need to know about the use of input controls. When we go into element linking in a minute, you can see that it works slightly different there. Okay, so let's reset it again and have all the data. Lastly, I'll limit this to resolver group, so I'll add a last one, the resolver groups. In that case, I'll also select the list box, and I'll apply that to the whole report as well. So now I can say, okay, let me see all CAB-related incidents for all services, but I'm specifically interested in, let's say, security-related changes or CAB incidents, and this is what I have. So inside a larger data set, I'm now going back and forth to find something that would catch my eye. Maybe because I'm from the function that I have inside an organization, I'm specifically interested in one service or one resolver group, or maybe I want to go through this data to see if I can pinpoint some resolver group that's not performing particularly well, or some area in combination with a service where the breach rate is much higher than in normal situations, things like that. Okay, so this is input controls. Now on the next page, I set up the same report, but it's now called element linking. There's no filters in here yet. Now what I will do in this case, I will do one extra step. I will drag these out of the way a little bit, and I will add an actual, an additional table here that only shows the services. So let me just drag that in. It's just a list of all of the services available in the report. Let's make that slightly bigger. And let's call this the service selector, so that the user would understand that they can select a particular service from this list. Now, I don't need the pane on the left-hand side anymore when we're using element linking, so I can just right mouse click inside this column and select Add Element Link from Linking, Add Element Link. The element link I'm applying on the service object, which is fine. I can give it a name, so it appears here when you want to look at how it's filtered with a specific name. So let's call it service selector. I can even add the description to make it more clear for the end user what they're actually looking at. And now I can determine what I want to apply this service selector to. Now in this case, I wouldn't apply the service selector to the whole report, because then when I click on one service, obviously I would only have that one service left. So I'll apply it to block 1 in the report and block 2, and you can see when I click on these that they are actually highlighted. So I've said here the service I select will function as a filter for this table here and for this table here on the right hand side. So let me finish that. You can see now that there's an additional button here with some functionality behind it. I can disable it or reset it. I can also double click on that when I filtered to remove the filter. But let's click on SAP now, and you see that the rest of the report is immediately filtered for everything having to do with SAP. You can also see on the left-hand side here in the input controls pane that you don't have an actual selector, but it does show what filters are applied to this report, which is the service selector where the service is SAP. Now if I double click on this here, it's actually reset, as you can see, but I can also do that from the left-hand side. Now something else, what I want to do here is create an element link on area that is actually applied to the whole report. So would also, if I click on that, limit the list of available services and to the resolver group, and I want to do something similar for the resolver group. So if I click on a resolver group, everything is filtered for that specific resolver group. So there we go. We'll not on service but on area. We'll add another element link on area, as we said. I'll give that a name as well. Let's say area filter. And I'll apply that to the whole report, so to the page body. And there we go. So now if I click on a specific area, let's say failure, the list of services is limited to all services that have failures linked to them. I still have all my services here, the ones that, and now if I click on a specific service, for example, if I say, hey, business services, actually, they have a 70% non-breach rate, which is lower than I would normally want. Let's specifically look at business service. So then now I have filtered on business service, on failure, and I have my assignment groups here, or my resolver groups, with the percentage of non-breach rate. So I could, for example, say that CAB, mainframe, and mobile have reached 0%, but hey, they only had one incident, so that's imaginable. But this would allow you to look at the group that, for this specific situation, had the worst performance. So let's go back here and show all of the data again. So we'll do the same for resolver group. Add an element link, resolver group. I'll call that group filter. There we go. Apply that to the whole report as well. So now if I'm interested in a specific group, I'm specifically interested in the performance of the CAB group, I click on that. Then everything else in the report is limited to the CAB group. I can now see that application services, or maybe I want to look specifically at SAP. So now I have the performance for SAP for the CAB group. So I have filtered, gone through my report. I can use multiple points in the report where I can click to filter the data, and now I'm left with one specific group with 38 incidents, of which 25 were non-breached. And really what I would want to do from here is have a look at the 13 incidents that were actually breached and resolved by this group. So really what I want to do now is create a hyperlink to another report that is filtered with this specific group and shows their incidents. So before I can do that, I will have to disable temporarily my, well, let's go back to CAB. I will temporarily have to disable my my element link, because otherwise I cannot modify what's beneath it, and I can add a link to another report. But here it comes. The mode that I'm in now, the advanced report creation mode, only has the option to add a hyperlink to another report. And this is what you get. Not very helpful. You will have to manually enter the hyperlink, know all the parameters, know the actual place that you have to go to for that report. And obviously you wouldn't know that. So this is not very helpful. What I need to do, and first I'll save my report, I need to go into preferences, and I will have to set on the web intelligence my modify mode to HTML. Because when you use HTML mode, you will actually get a wizard that will guide you through that hyperlinking process. So you'll have to set this, and once you've done, you can come back to this and come back to the applet. The HTML mode is functional as far as creating reports is concerned. It doesn't use Java, but it is, I can't be 100% exact, but let's say 90% functional. It has 90% of the functionality of the applet. So I won't use it normally because I don't want to run into any limitations that I don't have to run into. But for this specific situation, you'll have to set it to HTML and then later come back and reset it to applet. So let's save and close, and then it will say I have to reload the page before I can continue. So I'll reload my page and open the report again. There we go. Go back into modify mode. So no Java now. This is the HTML mode. Now if I click on here, again I'll have to disable it. If I click on here and go to linking, you see there's also an option called add document link, because that's what I'm doing. I'm linking to another document, another report in the CMS, and now I can browse to that report. So I save that in this location here under demo reports on the second page, and it's called detail report breached incidents. I'll open that. It now reads from this report, and it says, okay, there's a prompt in that report as a prompt for resolver group. And because I did this from inside that column for resolver group, it already decided that this would be the value to forward to that prompt. But I can change that. I can enter a formula. I can do something else. I can create a prompt that the user would have to enter when refreshing this report. But in this case, this is what I want. There's some other options here, of which this one is important, refresh on open. I want to go into that report, open it, and refresh it with the selected resolver group. Then I can set the default format. Default would be just inside a business object, so in the same format. The target window is a new window. I don't want to leave the window I'm in right now. I just want to open a new browser window with that report, and I can add a tooltip saying, okay, click on this to view details of the breached incidents, something like that. Apply. Okay, so now you can see I have a hyperlink here, and if I hover on that, it says click on this to view details of the breached incident. So by clicking on this, it will open the other report, it will refresh that report, and for that specific group, CAB, as you can see here, it has now run this report, and it shows some details of the incidents. So this is a very quick way of getting from the high level, where all of the data is available. Let me just clear all the filters here. Re-enable this one. Like this, we have all the data, and we can actually go and filter that data and then click on the hyperlink to go into a detailed report.
So, Jack, when do you go back and change it to the Java mode?
When would probably be now. It's still fully functional now. The Java mode only applies to when you're actually modifying the report, so it doesn't apply to this specific report. But normally you would now close this report and go into preferences, web intelligence, and then change it back to the so-called applet mode.
So, basically, in order to get the hyperlink, you set it up in HTML, and then you can go back and change it to applet mode. And then
Yes.
if you now if you click on any of the hyperlink, it's gonna open a new report, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, this is a cool function.
That is correct.
I like that. Yeah.
Okay, I also see another question from Anwar. Can we apply the filter on graphic mode? I'm assuming that you ask if you can apply such a filter on a chart or a column in a chart, for example, and the answer is yes. As far as the element linking is concerned, you can also apply that to columns in a chart, etc. We will show that in the next Academy on the 28th of May.
So how many levels of granularity can you go down to when you drill down? Because right now we can just go to one level. Can you go further ahead and drill down on it?
Yeah, there's no limit there. You can just link and link and link as long as you can forward some information from the original report to a prompt in the other report, and you make sure that the report that you're linking to has some filtering inside it that makes sure that, for example, in this case, I set up my detail report to only show breached incidents that were closed last month, because that's also the filtering that is applied to this main report. That, of course, is something that you would have to put in. But otherwise, yeah, you can go on and on and on. There's no limit there.
Awesome. Great. Thank you.
Another question from Anwar. Can I use a filter to show, for example, only the top 5 groups? Yes, you can. It's called ranking. So you can apply ranking to a specific table. For example, this table, if I apply ranking, I could say give me the top 5 based on, let's say, the percentage non-breached or the percentage breached, depending on what we have. So now we actually have the top 5 with the highest rate. If I want to show the worst 5, then in this case I should show the bottom 5. So now we have the worst performing groups. So the answer is yes with ranking.